There we go. All right, we're gonna just jump into some crafting together. So today I have pulled the G's stamp set out, but I thought that I would start by doing some ink blending for my background first, because it's gonna take a little bit of time to dry, and I figured we would dive into that first. So let me grab, I'm gonna take an A2 size piece. This is just like a dark gray paper, and we're gonna do a little bit of ink blending with it. And you'll understand shortly why I am doing this first instead of coloring. So the ink blending for this panel is actually gonna be pretty easy. We're gonna take some Distress Oxide ink and just kind of distress the edges. Try to get a nice blend going so that it's lighter in the center of the card. Just like this. Just dab off the excess. I'm doing a lot of ink blending today. A bunch of backgrounds on my desk. I actually finished my October release projects this weekend, so that was good. I actually finished those Friday night. It's been a little crazy here, but we're getting through it. All right, just kind of distress the edges. Just like this. Just trying to make it so the edges of the paper are significantly darker than the center, but there's a nice sort of transition of color. It's not too stark. And then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna darken those edges a little bit more. I'm gonna go in with some black soot distressing. Just to really darken things up. Now I will actually go in and trim this down later. So the super close edges of the paper don't really matter too much, but that dark ink does carry into the part of the card that we'll be using. Right. Just kind of blend it in. Looks great. Okay, now I wanted to do a little bit of splattering, so I am going to just take a clear acrylic block, and I'm being very loud today, and I'm very sorry about that. We're going to do some opaque silver paper splatter. No, this is not opaque. I don't think this is opaque. This is, regardless, we're going to water it just a little bit. And to splatter this onto my panel. Just like that. And then I'm going to take a craft towel and wipe this up really quick just to kind of keep my workspace clean. Good morning, Diane. I like the foam pads more because I think I get a better ink coverage. The brushes are a little softer than what I'm looking for. The foam pads get me a deeper color. So I like working with those more. Next, I'm going to pull in some liquid turquoise blue. And this is another paper splatter. Sort of splatter this onto the panel. All right, and then I'm gonna clean up my workspace really quickly. And then we're gonna heat set this just so we can kind of speed up the process of creating a little bit more. So I'm gonna put that off to the side. I'm gonna grab my heat it tool. And just kind of begin the process of setting all these colors. I like using this Heat It Craft tool instead of just a heat gun because it gives me a lower, more even airflow that I can hit the paper with. I also like that it's not super loud either, so it does a really nice job for videos and for Facebook Live. So I do keep that in mind and appreciate when I can find products that work well. Try a little bit more. It's okay. Most of this is going to get, well, a chunk of it's going to get covered up, but that's okay. All right, that's good. So now what we'll do is I want to use a little bit of pixie spray, and we're gonna use it on a stencil. I grabbed the Circuit Stencil, and I have an old Kindred Stamps box that I use as a splatter box. And it's still kind of tacky, but not tacky enough that I trust it. So I'm gonna put my stencil in my box. And I'm going to use some pixie spray, which is a light tack repositional adhesive spray. I just kind of like to close it, let it sit for a little bit so that adhesive can start to work. And I thought it would be fun for the focus of today's live to be creating creating really just pretty backgrounds with paste, but doing it in a way that it involves more of like sci-fi technology sort of vibes to it. So that was the gist of the feel I'm going for this card. So I'm going to go ahead, grab my stencil, and then I'm going to take my panel and just sort of line it up. Kind of press it down nicely into place. Just like that. And then I am going to pull in the Neon Lunar Paste. This is No Chill is the color. This is by Simon Hurley Create. And we're just going to go ahead and sort of spread it out. I could use like one of those paste tools. I have one on my desk, but sometimes I just like to work gently with a spatula to spread it out. Because I feel like I get good coverage. I'm trying not to work it so that I'm putting this too much under the stencil. me scrape off some excess. Just like that. I'm going to put my tool, I've got some soapy water off to the side, put the cap on my lunar paste, and then do a peel reveal. All right. So there we have our panel. I'm just trying to make sure my stencil goes into my water. So we have this really fun, sort of technologically inspired panel with the lunar paste, and I thought it would be fun with the blue. I was originally going to go green, but I decided to do blue because I wanted to kind of play with the color of the hair of the guy that we're going to be using from the G's stamp set. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put this off to a separate piece of paper. Put this away. Now, most likely, this is not going to be ready for creating. I'm probably going to have to use this for a future card. But that's okay, because about an hour and a half ago, I did create a second one. And this one is almost dry. I figured after we do our coloring, this one will be good to go. So this one I'm going to set off to the side so it can dry entirely. And then we will pull this one in a little bit. It's like a cooking show, you know? Where it's like, oh, let this chill in the fridge for 4 hours. But I made one earlier today that's ready to go. It's very much like that. Okay. Next. I think it's time to color. So, I'm kind of struggling with this guy because I'm trying to think of the best way to do his skin. So let's zoom in a little bit. And his skin is quite gray. And I don't want to just make it gray though, because I do still think with his skin, there's a little bit of warmth to it, and I'm trying to play off of that. So I think what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're going to kind of begin to color this up like I normally would, but then when it starts getting to the lighter tones, I'm gonna use more of a gray. So let's start with some E04. And I'm just going to go in, add this to his hairline. Now, this is the first time I'm coloring this guy up. I may totally change my mind and say, you know what? I probably should have colored his skin gray. But that's okay. We learn, you know? So, I'm going in, doing his hands. I'm going to do around, he's got these little dimples. I did around his nose. We're going to do under his ear, just like that. Next, we're going to go in with some E11, which is Barley Beige. Just kind of go in, do his hands. All right, I'm forgetting his neck. It's okay. Next, let's do some E21, and I think this is going to be the last of like the fleshy tones. And then we're going to start incorporating the gray in after this. So now, I think I'm going to pull in some W1 because his skin is definitely a warm gray. this might work. Because it's really starting to gray up all of those earth tones we put down. But it's still giving us the colors that come through for like the shadow, and I'm not mad about this at all. Like I said, kind of a non-traditional color palette with the skin. But a lot of when I color, I like to start with what I know, and I like to sort of sub out one or two of the colors to shift it in the direction that I need it to go in. And since I want his skin to be predominantly gray, I sub it out on the end. All right, then let's finish this with some W0. Ooh, wait. Yeah, we'll do W0. There's a W00 though. Do I want to use 00? Yeah, I want to use 00. Let's do that. I forget that some of the grays have 00s and some of them have only 10. But we're going to use this to our advantage today. And then plus, we're going to color it up a second time, so we'll get a better saturation. That'll make the color a little deeper. Sounds perfect to me. It's kind of horrifying looking, in all honesty. Spooky guy. He's not. I'm not overly familiar with the guy, if I'm being honest. But I thought he just looked like he would be fun to work with today. I like this as a skin color for him. I think it works. I think that it makes him look human, which I think is why I was afraid of just making it gray. I don't mind doing all gray or grayscale for skin when I know it's going to be like a black and white movie sort of vibe, but this works. I like this. Right, let's see. If anybody else has any other questions, just let me know. But let's go back in. Let's color them up one more time. Like I always say, I do a coloring strategy that's called coloring twice. So I do my images, I color once through from dark to light, and then I repeat those on a second round. This helps me deepen the saturation of my marker, of the ink that I'm using, and then it also helps the ink blend nicely as well. Let's go with some E11. I still maybe think his skin is going to look a little warmer than it's supposed to. But for me and what I like with my crafting, I am elated with that. Under those. All right, let's do some E21. Now, if you were just going to color up his skin gray, I would say stick to the W grays, the warm grays. Maybe do like, start with W4, maybe W5 if you think that's going to be a little too light. And then just kind of work your way down from there. Go with that W1. Making sure it blends into those earth tones. That's really going to be the key to making sure that he has a cohesive skin tone. All right, just like that. And then we'll finish. Oh, actually, we're going to do a little bit of blush, which is maybe a little strange for a cartoon character, but do a little bit of R22. And some R20. So like I said, this is not going to look as cohesive and normal of a skin color of what I usually color up. But sometimes when you're wanting to be true to character, you've got to just pivot. And that's what we're doing. We're kind of just working with what we know to make a skin tone to match this character. Maybe it's his teeth that really are the ones that the bits and bobs that sort of throw me with him. Because it kind of gives him like a monstrous look, and I know that's not necessarily the case. It's just, he's an interesting fella. Awesome. Well, he definitely has some gray skin, so we will take that. We are considering that a win, and I'm going to take these markers and kind of push them off to the side. Now we'll do his mouth. Oh, and I'm realizing I left some markers on my desk. One moment. I remembered when I was pulling my markers that there were a couple that I'm like, oh, these are on my desk. I need to just get those, make sure I have them for the live. So we're going to start with some RV14. And then we're going to do some RV13. And RV10. We'll go ahead and we'll repeat those colors. I always do pink tongues, even if they are supposed to be kind of red. Perfect. Keep the RV10. Now I've got to work on his mouth. So we're going to do the inside of his mouth. So I'm going to go around his teeth with some RV34 very carefully. It's totally the mouth that is making me feel like he's got like a bit of a monstrosity to him. RV32. Trying to be really careful to not accidentally color his teeth. And then RV10. RV34. Be very careful. His teeth are also not white. So like, we'll work with that in a second. Not like my favorite thing about a character. I think that's a little bit. And a little bit of his teeth. That's what I get for talking while trying to be careful. So, we got the inside of his mouth. Let's do his teeth. I just wanted to pull in some Y000. So I thought that they would just give like a subtle yellowness. This is kind of a gross thing to be talking about. You know, like, oh, like, yeah, we're going to make his teeth like a little bit yellow. I think what we're beginning to discover is that this guy, I don't know, his vibe is interesting. And we'll just leave it at that. All right, let's work on his hair. Now, his hair is something I'm quite excited to color up because it's blue. So we're going to start with some B16. And I'm going to go in and do his tips. Just like this. Just like this. I think his hair is going to be kind of easy to color up, but I've eaten my words before, so. All right, so now we're going to go in, just kind of add some more texture. I have to blend some of this out at the end, that's okay. All right. Next, we're going to do some B14, which is kind of the color that I think is his, like, true hair color. If anyone's got any questions, just let me know. I'm just gonna go in. Add some more texture. I'm also realizing I should be doing his eyebrow. One brow. All right, and I could add texture to that, and I just don't think that's necessary for my purposes. If you would like to, by all means, we're gonna move on to some B2. And then we will finish off his hair with some B00, a frost blue. All right. And making sure each of the little bits and bobs is good. Now we're gonna go back, we're gonna just repeat the colors, but we're gonna go from light to dark. All right, and then B14. Just kind of keep bringing that texture out. And then finish with some B16. Awesome. Have to clean a little bit up with gel pen, but that's okay. Just like that. All right. Let's also just do his second coat of his unibrow. I've got a sleeping dog in here. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to grab a gel pen. I thought I had one over on my desk, but I don't. It's all right though. Easy things to grab. Thanks so much, Karen. Thanks for stopping by too. All right, let's see. Let's work on his coat. His coat's gonna be probably the easiest thing we have to color. We're just gonna use 2 easy colors for it. It's gonna be C2. And then C00. All right, just his little lab coat. Let's do his t-shirt. Or it's not really a t-shirt, it's more of a long sleeve shirt. It's gonna be BG05. We do it right there. Do it right there. I gotta go in with my C00. Just lightly touch that up. Awesome. We'll do BG02 next. And then BG000. I always thought there was a missed opportunity with the BG families, that there should be a BG00, and there's not. It goes from 01 to 000, and I would use a BG00 so much. Anyways, add it to my wish list, I guess. All right, BG02. Let's do, we'll do the button on his gun, or whatever this little device is. Like I said, not really totally familiar with this guy, but it looks like a crazy TV, like remote control. Next, let's do his shoes and his belt. We'll do some N6. N4. actually the N4 is going to be part of this device too. I think we're just going to color that one up once though. And then N2. Just like that. And then let's do N0. Awesome. He is getting there. I've got to go back in with some of my C's. I forgot about his socks. So C2 and C00. Too bad he doesn't have matching pants to his coat. We'd be very close to being done right now. Drop the marker. All right, then we've got, let's do his belt buckle. We'll do his pants last. So Y26. And Y21. This is small enough that I don't have to do it twice. Now let's do his pants. He's got sort of brown khaki pants on. So we're going to do E87. And E84. These are a little on the greener side, so they might not be the truest to color, but this is what we're using. And E81, which is ivory. Yeah, sometimes there's just markers that are not labeled correctly. And this does not give me ivory. All right, so E87. E84. And E81. Okay. Gotta clean this guy up just a little bit. So I'm gonna put my markers away. And then I've gotta grab one marker to fix some of his skin. So I've got to grab my I think it's my W00. And I've got to grab my white gel pen, and we can then move on to fussy cutting. Yay! Okay, so I've just kind of got to clean up his hairline a little bit because I got some of that blue on there from his hair, and sometimes you can just kind of go in and kind of easily clean it up, or blend it out is actually probably the more correct term. All right. Ooh, that nib might need to be replaced soon. All right, let me grab my gel pen, and then we can go ahead and just clean up some of these edges. Let's see. Right there. He's looking pretty good. I approve. All right. So he's almost done. We just got to let him air dry a little bit. Just kind of get him to cool off. All right, and then we can fussy cut him out. Let's just kind of go in. Kind of making sure I get nice clean cuts. His hair is an interesting shape, but at least the lines are pretty straight, so it's not super difficult to maneuver my scissors around. So yay. Awesome. All right, he's all cut out. Now let's see. Let's make sure that my background is ready. All right, I think we're good. Okay, so we can trim this down and start getting everything ready to go for our card. Oh, well, have fun at the craft store, Megan. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great time. We're going to trim this panel down to about a 4 by 5.5. Do this. Just like that. I got that panel trimmed down. And then let me put this off to the side. We can start layering to put our card together. And we really just have to do a sentiment. There's not too much left to do. So, all right, so we're going to do a little bit of adhesive right now. I've got to grab my Misty Precision Glue Press. Well, I've got some metallic paper. This is trimmed down to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I'm going to adhere it to a piece of A2 size black cardstock. Kind of nudge it into place best that I can. And then I am going to take my circuit panel and adhere that directly onto the metallic silver paper. I'll have a nice little border. Just like that. All right. Looks pretty good. So we've got that ready to go. Let's work on our sentiment. So I am going to set that off to the side along with our character. And we're going to do a sentiment from the stamp that says, "Happy Birthday." And I've got some scrap black paper that I was going to use. Secure this into place. Just like that. Then let's use my Kindred Stamps embossing powder, or embossing ink pad rather. Perfect. And then Snowfall embossing powder. All right, we'll put this away. And let's go ahead and set it. Phooey, I screwed it up. It's okay, we can fix this. I don't love the way that turned out, so I'm going to touch it up with a gel pen after we die cut it. There's a couple areas that could have had more embossing powder. So I'll show you guys how to go ahead and fix that if you ever have some powder that doesn't get as noticeable as you'd like it to be when you're heat embossing. Let's put my sentiment away. Come on. All right, so we're going to grab, I've got my sentiments dies that I want to use. Let's see. No, I need this one. That's a little too long. I need this one. That'll work. That will do. All right, and let's grab a little bit of mint tape. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's nicely into place. Just like that. Do a little bit of die cutting. It's going to be slightly off camera, which I think is okay. Got a die cut out. Just gotta loud noise, sorry. Now I'm gonna put my sentiment banners away. So I'm going to wipe this off. I'm going to grab my gel pen. I'm just going to go in and touch up the letters. Just like that. That looks pretty good. Actually, I just screwed it up, so I got to do a little bit of, where are my erasers? My sand erasers. trying to clean everything up, make it look nice. In the process, I totally screwed it up. We may have to redo it. Let's see. Let's see what I can do. Let's go back in. Like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to redo this sentiment banner. Oh, phooey. Yeah, we'll do it real quick. And I think instead of black, oh, I like it on the black. I think that looks nice. All right, we're going to do it one more time. Sorry about that, y'all. Let's go ahead. Let's see. I think I could have probably gotten better coverage with this ink too. I think it's operator error. Repeat the embossing powder stub. Let's heat it from the back this next time. I think that might help too. Heating from the back makes it so none of the embossing powder will blow off since you're applying a airflow heat method. So we'll do that just to make sure. Awesome. That looks a bunch better. Yay! Sorry that we had to repeat some steps, y'all. But that looks immensely better than the first time. Sometimes I will redo if I have to, if it's a quick, easy step. I always try to salvage if I make a mistake, just because I don't want to fully just throw something away. But every once in a while, it's just, you gotta just kind of take the small stuff and just redo it. All right, wipe off the powder. Let's pull out the sentiment strips again. Right. Perfect. All right, we are almost done, y'all. Just this and a couple sequins, and that'll be the card. Let me grab some tape. Let's do... Awesome. And then let's do some little pieces for him of foam tape. All right, so we've got our foam tape. We've just got to remove our backing and get our items nicely into place. I also know green would have been a very appropriate color to use for this card instead of the blue, but I just liked the blue. I thought it would work really well with the colors, with this character. I've also done this stencil with green foil before for the You're the One stamp set. Alright. We'll put him kind of like that. And then let's remove the backing of our sentiment strip. All right, let's go ahead, let's adhere this to a card base. This. And then I thought we would add a couple sequins as well. And I thought I pulled all the sequins that I wanted to use. Oh my goodness, where did they all go? You know what? We're just gonna use from here. There's just some blue-green ones. I thought that would work really nicely along with some clear ones. Just like that. Add a couple more. I think that's about it. I think we're gonna leave it at that. And maybe 1 or 2 more. See, that's the problem with sequins is I'm always like, maybe a couple more. Just want some that have the shimmer to it. All right, there we go, y'all. We are done. We've got our G's card all figured out and completed. I hope that this card gives you some inspiration for some fun ways to use pastes with your favorite Kindred Stamp stencils. And yeah, Wendy, it is a fantastic glue gun. I really, really enjoy it. So thank you all so very much for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, or it's not Saturday, it's Sunday. Rest of your Sunday and a fantastic weekend. And I will see you towards the end of the month for my second October Facebook Live. Bye.